So I'm keen to just get going. So another time we'll get acquainted with PowerShell. We're using Windows command prompts. I've set the constraints in advance. I'm using command prompts. So AWS EC2 describe instances, and let's say I only want to know, so I want a structural limitation, query, quibble, waves through something structure, query, I'm only interested in I'm interested in all the reservations, but all the instances, but I'm only interested in the instance ID. Will that work? Perfect. So I get back a list within, or 3 lists within a list. So I've got 3 EC2 instances running. Now AWS EC2 terminate instances. Now think about this. I think it's -- instance IDs. Might be instance ID. Oh, let's see if it's instance IDs. So I'm going to provide 03 B 6F 03 B 6F BA I know 5F 6CE 3C 3CBA 6. Is it -- instance IDs? Yes, so that's worked. So we've shot one of them down. Let's think, how could we have done this command slightly better? So we've got -- query, but perhaps we could output, so reservations instances instance ID. So let's do it again. Describe instances -- query. I'm interested in all the reservations. I'm interested in all the instances. And I'm only interested in the instance ID. However, if I do -- output text, I want it as text, and I want to pipe it into the clipboard. Okay. Okay, so if I do Control V, we've got 3 instances on the clipboard. Good. Looks like it's not quite terminated that one yet. And no, how could we do that even better? I mean, how do they do it with variables? So am I able to do, let's just call it TER, nice and short, which is basically instances to terminate. And I'm going to use the assignment operator. I don't know if I can do this with, I don't know what the rules are, but then I'm going to put a $, and then I'm going to do AWS EC2 describe instances -- query reservations, all of the instances, and the instance ID. Yeah, so I'm going to save that as TER, a variable, and then can I just do that? No, okay. TER is not recognized as an internal or external command. It's not an operable program. It's not even a batch file. So what are the rules about when I can do that kind of thing that they do? They put the command in rounded brackets with a $. We'll have to pay more attention. To that. Okay, so on our clipboard we've got the relevant instances, AWS EC2, terminate instances, -- instance IDs, Paste. So what went wrong there? So 03B we got terminating, but then it's talking about 03B again. It says I025 is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program or batch file. The problem was with the pasting. I did Control V on my keyboard. You have to sketch it. You have to sketch it out. AWSCC2 describe delete terminate instances -- instances ID. See, even then when I do Control V, I've got line breaks in it, and Windows command prompt is very fragile with that kind of thing. So now I'll copy that, paste that. Now, of course, one of the the EC2 instances is already terminated. Okay, didn't like that. Sorry, what was wrong with that? Change that to instance IDs. Oh, instance IDs. Oh, okay, it did it. Instance ID. I'm sure it was IDs. Anyway, 036 is being terminated. It's shutting down, and 025 is being shut down, and 03B, it was okay that we had already tried to terminate it, and we tried to terminate it a second time. It's terminated now. Okay, next stage. What? The Elastic the roots, the Elastic IPs. Should we do the Elastic IPs or the root tables? Well, I don't think it matters. Let's do the Elastic IPs. So I'm looking for a command that will tell me all the Elastic IPs I have. Describe EI allocations. Describe allocations. So A. So I'm going up. Account, attributes, address transfers, addresses attribute, availability zones. Okay, nothing for allocation. What about EIP, Elastic IP? E, F, G, H, A, B, C, D, E, F. Export tasks, Elastic GPUs, egress only internet gateways, export image tasks. No, okay. What about public IPs? So P, LMNOP, placement groups, describe prefix lists, principal ID format, public IPv4, pools, not quite right, regions. No, nothing for. Wow. There's nothing for describe addresses, no? Yeah, describe addresses. Let's have a look. Describes the specified Elastic IP addresses, or all your Elastic IP addresses. So let's try that. AWS EC2 describe addresses. So straight away, I want to point out that we have two things in existence. We have the IP address and its allocation, but also this thing called an association ID. Fine, but it looks like there's only one. So look, addresses, in speech marks, then a colon, and then an opening square bracket, closing square bracket, but there's only one object. And all the keys in this are different. They're unique features that we can talk about for this thing. So it's one object. It's like one fruit, one person, one thing with different features which don't really have an order, but they all matter. So I'm happy that there's only one thing that we need to delete. Now we need a command to delete it. So let's go back. So I'm going to go to delete. Flow logs, network ACL. I mean, before it was in terms of addresses, so I'm quite disappointed that there's nothing in terms of addresses, because if it's describe addresses, there should be delete addresses, and obviously there isn't. So there's a bit of consistency that we don't have here. We've got delete. There's not delete EIP. It'll be public. Delete. No, delete root table, delete security group, delete snapshot. I'm looking to delete my EIP. Oh. Release. Yeah, you don't delete it. You just return it to the pool. Release address. Like gold. Release address. Okay, so I need so I can sketch this out. I can see straight away that I need probably the allocation ID. I know the square brackets mean optional, but I do need the allocation ID and the public ID. Again, another sort of disappointment with the CLI. So I need an allocation ID. Let's go to the command line. Well, I've got the allocation ID there. Hopefully there's no problem with the fact that this public IP is being used by my NAT gateway, but we're just taking it from the NAT gateway. Public IP, let's provide that as well, given that we have it. Network border group, let's see if we can do without that. So this is the command release address. So there's no delete address, only release address. Okay. You may specify a public IP or an allocation ID, but not both. Okay, sure. Let's just provide the allocation ID then. Back we go. Paste. Oh. Oh, wow. Okay. You don't have permission to access a specified resource. So I can create it, but I can't release it. So here's someone who says they cannot release an Elastic IP address. They're using the console. But the answer says you may need to remove a network interface that's hanging around. Check to see if your Elastic IP is associated with any of your network interfaces. Now, how would I, before I check if I've got any network interfaces, how would I check? It's got a private IP address. It's got a public IPv4. The network border group is just a sort of region code. Is it this association ID? Do I make use of that somehow? Can I do describe association and see that it's being used in on where this Elastic IP is being used? So if I do association, There's obviously quite a few things that make use of associations. I'm not interested in local gateway. Describe IAM instance profile associations. Describe IPAM resource discovery associations. No. Describe security group VPC associations. No. Describe trunk interface associations. What's a trunk interface? Trunk interface. No, no, no. Replace root table association. Okay, so no. Okay, let's just go and just see if we can describe that network interface then and delete that. LMN network interfaces. Describe network interfaces. Interesting. And there you go, it's making use of an EIP allocation. So let's delete that. Hold on a minute, how many we've got? One. What's going? So let's have a look. Opening brace. This is all the value of association. This is all the value of attachment. We've not closed the brace yet. That's the value of private IP addresses. That's come and gone. We've not there we close the brace. So all of this is one. Then we have a second thing, availability zone, EU West 2B. Description, groups, interface type. Okay, so we've got two network interfaces. I didn't know that. And what else can we deduce from all this information? Oh, nice. We gave one a description. Interface for NAT gateway. Or maybe, I think that was given for us. So that's what that ENI is. Okay, so it looks like when you use a NAT gateway, it gets given an elastic network interface, or a network interface as it's just called. And that ENI is using our Elastic IP, so we need to get it off. This one doesn't have a description. It's part of a group. It seems to be a sort of default Elastic network interface. Oh, groups, security groups. IREC03D, that is the security group that I use for my private EC2 instance, I think, to let SSH in. Anyway, we've got two network interface IDs. Let's copy those. No, let's do that more intelligently. So how do I copy the... I want the value of network interface ID. So how can I grab that? Well, it's part of network interfaces. So within network interfaces, I want the network interface ID. So AWS EC2 describe network interfaces, things that are the boundary between two sort of surfaces. Describe network interfaces -- query, so it's a structural constraint. Is it network interfaces? Yeah. Christ. And then I'm interested in both of the objects, so I'm just going to leave that like that. You don't have to put star. And then I'm interested in the network interface ID, and I want it to be piped as text to the clipboard. Will that work? Let's paste. Perfect. So really I just want to get rid of those. So what will it be? Delete interface, delete network interfaces. Attach, delete. Good. Is there a parameter? Yep, for the network interface ID. Good. Sketch. Execute. Okay, we have to do one at a time. I think that worked. And now this one. Okay, so network interface 05F is currently in use. So, and we're only trying to delete this so that we can delete our public IP. So, 05F, it's the NAT gateway, isn't it? Yeah, no. Oh, what? Network interface, oh no. Yeah, that's 094. Network interface ID 05F, and that's for the NAT gateway. Okay. So, do I have to delete the NAT gateway before I delete its ENI? That seems a strange way of doing it, but okay. So I'm deleting the NAT. I'm going to try and delete the NAT gateway. Again, what I'm really trying to do is delete my public IP, but to delete the public IP, I need to delete the ENI, or can I go back on course a little bit here? Is there a way to just disassociate the ENI and the public IP? Is there a disassociate? Let's have a look. Disable. There we go. Disassociate address. And I can. Okay. And we've gone in a circle. Okay. Don't have permission. Let's try and delete the NAT gateway. Deletes the specified NAT gateway. Deleting a public NAT gateway disassociates its Elastic IP address. So in the means of disassociating is to delete the NAT gateway, but does not release the address from your account. Deleting a NAT gateway does not delete any NAT gateway routes in your route table. Fine. Right, delete the NAT gateway. Good. Delete the... Now try release address again. Oh, try to delete the network interface again. No, let's try and dissociate the address first. And again. Okay, let's try... Why is that happening? Is it really a permission problem? Let's try and delete the network interface, which was used by the NAT gateway. ENI 05F. The network interface is currently in use. Let's wait a minute. I'll pause the recording. Okay, network interface is currently in use. Let's try again. Delete the network interface. Okay. It does not exist. Good. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe the NAT gateway took time to delete, and when it deleted the network interface that it had. Good, so we've deleted the network interfaces. Now let's try to dissociate the address, effectively deleting the EIP. Okay, so now we've been told that association ID does not exist. So let's try and do AWS to describe addresses. Remember, you can use either the association ID or the allocation ID. So we're going to have to use the allocation ID. There we go. So yeah, there's the allocation ID. And let's get rid of it. Like that. Is it allocation ID? -- allocation ID. I think so. Nope. Anyway, it's release address, isn't it? try that. Okay, no response, but no error either. Verification, good. Describe addresses, it looks like we have dealt with all our Elastic IPs. So we've deleted our NAT gateway, our EC2 instances. We probably should put that further up in the list. So EC2 instances, actually we found that we had to do the NAT gateway before we could deal with the Elastic IPs down here. What we didn't include on this list was network interfaces. We had to delete our network interfaces. We found that when we deleted the NAT gateway, it deleted its network interface. I think that was right. Internet gateway. So let's do a search for internet gateway. Attach internet gateway. Describe internet gateways. And I know, see, one of the things I'm getting faster at is that I just sort of know that I don't need to provide any parameters for that, because I think so anyway. Is it gateway or gateways? Because it's just it's part of a class of description commands, and they don't need parameters usually. Good, so I'm happy that I've only got one. I'm going to copy the internet gateway ID, and now I'm looking for a command to delete that internet gateway. So Control F, delete internet gateway. Good. Sketch. Oh, that's easy. So it's just internet gateway ID, pretty straightforward. You didn't paste the internet gateway ID. So there's my command ready. This must be very boring to watch. I'd be amazed if anyone's watching this. Delete internet gateway. Execute that now. Okay, done. Let's move on. What do we need to do next? Elastic IP addresses, we've dealt with them, so let's put that below on the list. Root tables. So I think it's describe root tables. Now remember, root tables they're associated with subnets, so at that level. So let's just break this down. You don't always have to do this, but opening square bracket, opening brace, where's this going to close? That's the content of associations. There, so this is one object. So that's one root table. We've got another root table and another 3 root tables. Main true. This is a main root table here, or here rather. This is not a main root table. I just remember that was my private subnet, so this is the root table I had on my private subnet. So what I'm interested in is, can I delete a root table, or do I have to go and delete the individual roots? So we've got another main root table, but this is for a VPC, which I wasn't using for the practical. But you know what? I'm gonna see if I can delete them all. So let's go and look at the commands and search for root table commands. So root. So we've got delete local gateway root, delete local gateway root table. Ah, maybe. I mean, no. Okay, so if I use delete root table, you need to provide a root table ID, and that's it, really. So I'm not going to do a dry run. Let's begin with habits. It's about building up habits. So EC2, describe root tables -- query root tables associations root table ID. That work? Yeah, okay. And do it again now, but copy it to the clipboard. -- query. And notice how you don't have to put a star in root tables. Root tables, you can just blank out the square brackets like that. Associations, root table ID, and output as text and pipe it into the clipboard. Now I should be able to paste from the clipboard. Okay. So let's begin. Now, will we run into trouble here? Probably. Let's try and delete that root table, which is really a collection of rules. So we're starting with root table ID 021 Feb 11. 021 Feb 11. There we go. The root table has dependencies and cannot be deleted. So it says an error occurred, a dependency violation. What is the dependency? Is it the fact that the root table is dependent on, or rather the root table has a root depending on it, or is it the fact that and I have to delete the roots first, or is it the fact that the root table is attached to a subnet? What exactly is stopping me deleting a root table? Let's do some troubleshooting. Cannot delete root table. I'm going to put dependency violation. Ah, that's a good point. So straight away, cannot delete main root table. Maybe you can't delete the main root table. Can you delete the main root table? AWS. No. Okay. So in the CLI reference, in delete root table, it actually has description. Don't know why they need this little symbol next to the word description. And it says deletes the specified root table. You must disassociate the root table from any subnets before you can delete it. You can't delete the main root table. So what did we fail to do? So we tried to delete this root table, which was 021 Feb. Now if we go back to, let's copy that, and we can, what I can do is describe root tables, but I've got some specific information, so I'm going to do filters, root table ID, maybe that's it, and provide that, and obviously I dress it up by saying name, singular, equals root table ID, comma, values, plural, equals that and make sure there are no spaces. So if I do describe root tables and look at the root table that I tried to delete, good, so we've only got one. It was a main root table, so that was the mistake. So let's try again. So we've tried with 021 Feb 11. Let's try and delete this root table, 0A1. So this is the delete root table command again. 0A1, no, that has dependencies and cannot be deleted. 0A1. Was that a main root table as well? No, that wasn't a root table. So the reason we couldn't delete that root table was not that it was a main root table, but the fact that it presumably was not disassociated from its subnets. So the question is, how do we prepare this root table for deletion? How do we disassociate the root table from any subnets? And we'll get on with that next time.